Do you know what day is today? Do you know what day is today? Today is the first day of spring break. Do you know what that means? For me, it means reading 6 books. Yeah, that's what it means for me. I actually started reading at 6, and I feel like I changed so much since that moment, like as I was growing up. And there's just like so many aspects about my personality and what I like and my opinions, and so much changed about me, to be honest, since like that little boy at 6. But I feel like reading has always been that one thing that I can always come back to, and has just always remained my passion, and just something that really transformed me in so many ways, I do believe. I remember so many times where I was just wanting to escape my life and just not feeling very good, and reading books were there for me, honestly, through all of it. So yeah. Anyway, the next book that I actually read yesterday, which is this comic book, which is called The Royal City. This is the sequel for the first part of this comic book, which is called Sonic Youth. Let me just show you the book. I just saw the book and I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. I feel like I'm literally the kind of person that judges a book by its cover. Like, honestly, that shit actually affects me. When I see a beautiful cover, I'm biased. You know, when I see a beautiful cover, I'm like, okay, this got potential. But let me show you Tommy. This is the boy. And apparently he's suffering up from some mental health issues, I do believe, or probably even some physical issues too. And it just kind of like takes us into his world, into his friends, you know, him growing up in high school and all of that. So it's pretty like standard story, like coming out of age story. But I just really like the drawings, and I just thought it's such a beautiful book. And it was really fun to actually read it at like 2 a.m. yesterday. So that was fun, honestly, and I think this is a pretty good book. And one thing that I genuinely did appreciate about this book is that the illustrator and the author actually put like playlists that you can actually play while reading, and I did absolutely appreciate that, because thank you so much. If they ever really just see that, this is all the playlists. I was actually able to discover some really good music and all of that thanks to this book. So I'm thankful for that. This cover is so pretty. Like, oh my god, like I just love it. And this, okay, so just let me read you the synopsis. You know, if you understand French, you have everything you need to actually love this book. À 10 ans, on est dans une enveloppe contenant toutes les formes futures. On regarde à l'extérieur en adulte présumé, mais à l'étroit, dans une pointure de souliers plus petite. Comme chaque été, le narrateur descend de Naples pour passer l'été sur l'île. Il y retrouve le monde des pêcheurs et les plaisirs de la mer, mais ne peut échapper à la mutation débutée avec son 10e anniversaire. Une fillette fait irruption sur la plage et avec elle 3 garçons jaloux. De quoi remettre en question son ignorance du verbe aimer et sa vision de la justice. 3 words. Été, aimer, plaisir de la mer. Été, aimer, plaisir de la mer. Summer, love, and the pleasures of the sea. Should I say more? Should I say more? He tells the stories as they are like happening up in his memories, you know what I mean? And he kind of like engulfs you into this world where it's like, it's almost an aesthetic, you know what I mean? It's just like you can feel the energy of the summer, you can feel how the protagonist was feeling exactly. You can like imagine the energy. I feel like this is the most thing that is about it, you know? And this is like the thing I really love about books like that. It's like the energy engulfs you. I just can get the energy so well just by like very little words, and I just love that. And probably that's because also I really like have like this already like nostalgic feeling about summer in Italy, and I just really would love to actually just travel in Italy someday. And also I just realized today that this book is translated from Italian. I wish I had the Italian version of this to be able to read it, because I am actually trying to learn Italian, and I think that literally like have an Italian book, that would be really great. That's kind of sad, but also I'm really happy that I'm really able to like, you know, see a little bit through the Italian culture a bit in here and, you know, through the book. Notre chambre au milieu des parcs fut éclairée par la lune montée sur la proue devant nous. Nous nous détachâmes, les lèvres engourdies. Le chemin vers nos maisons se fit à l'aveuglade, en le perdant côte à côte. À un croisement, nous nous séparâmes, dégageant nos mains sans besoin d'autre salut. Ève et son époux, sortis du jardin, avaient déjà eu tout le bien du monde. La vie, ajoutée ensuite, loin de cet endroit, n'a été que divagation. Maintenant ici, il va bien. Le mot fin, petite sœur de frontières et de fenêtres fermées. This author has a way with words, I can't even explain it. I think that it's kind of blurry sometimes when like I read this book, whether this is his perception of what happened when he was 10 years old or when he grew up later on, like him looking back on all of these memories. Sometimes the line is a little bit blurred out, I do believe, but I still think that doesn't make it any less beautiful. I just really went on Facebook and I just really was like, I don't know, just like seeing some people that I used to know before and just seeing how they are doing right now and everything. I don't know. I wish them all the best, but that also really just made me feel very nostalgic. And just thinking about time and growing out of age and all of those things. So yeah, probably a 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. The next one, which is Les Garçons Perdus. So this also has like actual photos in it, and I'm sorry, I just love when I see photos in books. I absolutely adore that. I think that it definitely adds like such a very interesting like aspect to the book, and it just really like gives you a little bit more of like a look and just makes you more curious about the book rather than just like all pages like that. I don't know, just my opinion. I just love books with pictures. That's it. This book is actually about a friendship between these two boys, and there is one boy that actually went to a mental hospital, and I don't really know if this book is a real story or not, but what I do know is that they actually included, you saw the pictures, so probably this is from like a real story that happened, like else how did they get the picture? So I just really was interested to like see this friendship over time, I would say. So I was really curious to read this book. It's actually like telling their story right now when they are in high school. So there is like this power dynamic almost in this book where it's like there is this boy that is like popular and like is like from the outside as an appearance he's really doing okay and fine, and his friend is not popular. I don't know, it's so sad because one of these boys, his parents are super strict, and it's like they're only like expecting him to like be at a certain level, behave at a certain level, like have certain grades. And it's like I just couldn't stop thinking through this whole thing. It's like, why does it matter? Because I experienced that myself, you know what I mean? Many teenagers really just go through so many mental health issues and with so much shit, and I think that that's so much because of the societal pressures and what you are expected to be, especially in high school. Oh my god. I just was thinking about how much absurd and just so sad that like some parents like bring children and then they expect them to be someone they're not, you know, and they just place all of these big expectations and these big things that they want them to do in the future, and they want them to take a certain road, and that they just neglect completely what these children want to do, you know. It just made me feel so sad. It's not only the fault of these parents, because that's also generational trauma, you know, like they are carrying out the trauma that they had from generations before, and you know, infusing it into their children later on. And I just kept on thinking about like this hurt that was transmitted from one generation to another, and how much this is such a very big and hard problem, to be honest. This is the role normally of parents, to just ensure and to help their kids to grow and to just be happy, you know, to really help them up to reach that, you know. And it's just so sad that like a lot of people are brought into that kind of situation. I know how sad it is. I finished up reading this book. There is this friend that actually idealizes the other friend and always like looks out for their opinion, what they think of them, always just like puts them on a pedestal almost, you know, in a way. It actually started up a little bit like as a social status almost in high school, because this other person, the idol, it literally just calls it the idol, was actually quite popular in high school. And so from that moment, he really just kind of like started to form this idea about him as like really well at like dealing up with people and just being really sociable and just like knowing how to get his way through almost, you know. And that admiration kind of like started to like get bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes I just wondered whether there will be like any romantic relationship, whether this relation is any platonic, because of course like idealizing someone in a romantic relationship, you know, is no surprise. In his last year of high school, his friend was able to graduate high school, right? This idol actually wasn't able to graduate high school because he failed in some of his exams. So he had to repeat the last year of high school to be able to graduate. And later on he graduated, he went on to college or something, and then later on he didn't like college in there. So he actually ended up like doing drugs or something, and then later on this is how he went into a mental, like a psychiatric mental hospital or something, because apparently he has like a lot of judgment voices in his head, and when these voices get super intense, he starts to get violent with people, you know, even with his girlfriend, with like everyone, while the other friend actually was able to go to this school where like he was able to study film, I do believe, and like he was having a girlfriend, he was like having a side job, and he was actually even able to like have like this little like group of friends in uni where like he vibed with them and everything. He was able to publish his own book, so things were like pretty much looking up for him, you know. And later on kind of like things also went a bit downhill for him because his girlfriend broke up with him. The idol that like he was idealizing through all of this time, this friend was having a much more better life than this idol, you know what I mean? And even right now, like at the end of the book, he actually was able to get out of the mental hospital, and then later on he went to live on with his parents in Marseille, je pense. And this friend was like completely devastated. He was like, bitch, what do you fucking mean? What do you mean? What do you mean he went to live with his parents in Marseille? You know what I mean? What about me? You know what I mean? Because he literally like just knows this person like for 6-7 years, I don't know for how many years at this point, and he was just devastated that this way he will not be able to like reach him or connect with him in any way, right? They were just always like kind of checking up on each other, but they just also kind of like growing distant, but then also like checking up on each other and also growing distant, you know. And especially this friend, I don't really know the perspective of the friend because this book was from the perspective of this friend who was not the idol. I can see very clearly that his problems had to deal with his father. You know what I mean? His father, especially, he was constantly setting up like high standards on him. And even when he went to a mental hospital, we have this like mention that his father didn't even go like visited him, and I think that he didn't even talk to him, you know, because he was like, oh my god, disappointed. Oh my god, my son going to a mental hospital. I can't. We didn't understand even like why the idol was behaving in such way. I mean, I could guess, but it wasn't like anything explicit. Didn't like have anything to like take out of it, you know? The author was like, hey, so apparently this is a story that happened. Y'all, this is all what I know. I just want to tell you, bye bye. Like, it can probably give it a little bit of an airy feeling, almost in a way, but I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to understand what happened to like his friend afterwards in his life. But honestly, for the time being that I actually read this book, I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was very reminiscent of like high school years and, you know, like people growing apart. Just like how life just keeps on changing all the time, you know? I literally just like put on a playlist of like autumn playlist of like Downtown Girls, you know, the playlist. And that was perfect because autumn is about changing the seasons. And this is about changing the seasons. It's literally like all leafy. Did you see it? It's like literally the definition of autumn in here. So, yeah. The very first book I would love to talk about, which is this book called Felouk. So, let me show you the book because it is so magnificent. The papers, the pictures, the vision, everything about this book is so beautiful. So, this book is actually a collection of poems and also photographies, and there is the poet and there is also the photographer. It's like a collaboration between two people, and this book is about, first of all, the island from the poet, which is in my country, an island called Karkhna. It's such a beautiful island that I've never really been to, which is such a shame, but just circumstances didn't really allow me to go. It's all actually poems about water and sea and summer and just like all the hopes of people. I think that this is the thing, to be honest, about poems. Sometimes they actually just go and like tell a story, or they really just give you words, but like you're not fully comprehending what they actually mean. And I think that sometimes I get bothered by that a little bit because I actually want to understand about what exactly the author wanted to say by these words. But that's like the point from poems. It's to like kind of like give a little bit of like ideas and just really leave it to interpretation. And sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't, to be honest. But either ways, I think that the poems were so beautiful. So far I read them, and just this book in general is such a beautiful book, you know? As you can see, it's been kind of a couple of days since the whole spring break. Actually, it's probably like 2 months or something. So when it comes to Felouk, I didn't actually finish up that book. And for a simple reason that I actually really got to return the books back to the library. And I just really wanted to get new books. And I'm really happy that such a book was done about a place that I actually lived in, so I kind of really can understand a lot of the fascination, a lot of the admiration of that place. And so it really kind of makes me happy, to be honest. And at the same time, the whole book really like has this beautiful, like dreamy, airy kind of like feeling. It's like as if you really just go on a summer vacation like in a beautiful place, and like the photographs about all of these like beautiful imageries about stuff and people and like the sky and the sea and all of those things. So I definitely did appreciate that. I really kind of like had a little beautiful conversation with my French teacher about the book. Books are a bridge for human connection, and many times, like whenever that you can like see a stranger like reading a book that you read or just reading a book, I do believe, I think that that can always be like an icebreaker and just an opportunity for you to bond with a new person, and I will always really love that. I just really love the comments, to be honest, when someone really be like, oh my god, what are you reading? Or like, oh, this book is so pretty and everything. It just makes me happy, I guess. So this one called Amrita. So I'm not really sure about what this book is about, but apparently there is Frida Kahlo. And I just saw Frida Kahlo and I was like, you don't need to say anymore. You don't need to say anymore. Because I actually watched this movie about Frida Kahlo. I just really found this woman quite mesmerizing and just interesting in general. It's just a biography, basically. There is Frida Kahlo, and there is painting, and there is a biography. This was enough for me. I don't know if it was enough for you, but this was enough for me. And I just love the cover. Like, this is so pretty. I love it. She literally looks like a movie star or something. I'm like only started up like reading this, but I'm absolutely already loving this. So this book actually tells the life of Amrita, which is basically a painter that was as big as Frida Kahlo in Mexico, but this girl Amrita is in, I do believe, India, I guess, and she is very, like, she actually comes from a very rich background. Like, I don't know, her father was like really like having very exotic kind of background, her mother the same as well, and she's like the combination of like this interesting background that really just gave her a very interesting outlook on life. And this already is like telling it from the perspective apparently of a painter that is like trying to repaint the portrait of this Amrita that was actually born in 1913. I am debating right now whether I should spend the whole day just reading these books. It has been such a long time I didn't spend a whole day just like reading, you know what I mean? And I think that that happened because I just didn't find good books to like read, like a book that like captivated me enough to literally just like read religiously, you know what I mean? There are like some times here and there that I really felt so attached to books that I literally just kept on reading them a lot. And that happens quite rarely, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, it doesn't happen every day, you know what I mean? I wanna really like spend a couple of, like at least 45 minutes or something, like really read it more, because it's gonna be the afternoon, so I have to read it at this time. I have to. I felt like at every chapter the pace was so slow, and the author, you can tell that the author was putting so much effort into like making the language and the text seem very poetic, but at the same time I really feel like every single chapter were just kind of like talking about how great Amrita was of a painter, how much diverse her culture was, how much all of this is absolutely stunning. But I felt like sometimes it bored me to literally just hear that, like, I get it, Amrita is amazing, but like, can you just tell me her story without getting into so much subjectivity in here? You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to hear her story. Like, you know, I can tell for myself, you know what I mean, if she's really like a great painter or not, you know? I mean, not that my opinion really matters, but like, I wanted to like build up my own opinion on her. There was like this little book that was like probably like 70 pages long, and don't even ask me what's going on in there because I genuinely don't know. Like, the photo just made me feel something, so I just like brought it with me, and I just like, as if like you literally just like spent a night with them and like literally just like heard their conversations, and it's like you weren't really allowed to ask any questions. You just like literally like heard them talk about like different stuff and like different people that you never really knew before, and it's like all what you gotta know is be like, okay, cool, this is it, okay, bye, you know? It's like there's just no real depth into the background, into the feelings, into any of this, and I was just like, bro, why? I'll just miss a lot of the books and just my hanging out in the library and just like picking the books and just getting them back, and like, I just love that. Like, just me like towering up the shelves to like look for good books. I love that.